Sale to private investor. The upside here is, of course, it keeps it on the tax rolls. It keeps them all in private hands and keeps the city open to whatever new vision might evolve, if a new one does evolve. The cons are, what assurance do we have that the new owner would do a better job than General Growth? After all, General Growth, second biggest in the country, supposed to be pretty good. Key point is, under cons, what's the objective of the new owner? Remember earlier we mentioned there had been a party that had the mall and they sold it to General Growth. They only kept it for 2 years and they made a 50% profit. Gee, what if someone comes in as a bottom feeder, if you will, to get this thing real cheap and they just want to slap a coat of paint on it and sell it to somebody else? What does that mean? Upsides, downsides. Another con is we don't see the economics there for redevelopment at this time, at least not for several years. Public-private partnership. Now we start to get into more city involvement as a possible scenario, and that's one where the city would take control of the mall, would buy it with the private financing. And the upside there is city has control. City can determine what would happen with it. The cons are, what are the deal points? And who is it that would step up and provide the financing to the city? What would the deal be? Another issue is, do we know what we want at this time? Existing policy. If someone said to me, Dan, well, what's the council's policy? What's the city's policy on the mall right now? Well, the existing policy is this. Add it here. Look, Bob, that one right there. No, Bob's got it. Dahlquist. It's the Village at Redlands Mall. That's the policy. That's what has been talked about. That's what has been on the table. So right now, that's where we're at. The Village at Redlands Mall. That's the vision. And then the final scenario is the city just owns it outright, where we've got complete control. We anticipate, in fact, I need to go back just for a second here. Where we talk about the public-private partnership, one of the things here is we've got a silent financing partner, and it's not that it's a secret, everyone would know who it is, but the city council is running the show on what's going to happen with the mall. And the financing partner is just that, providing the money, and we make payments. But again, the ingredient there is city control. Next one is outright city-owned. We've got complete control. It's in anticipation of a potential downward spiral of the mall, or just kind of a hold pattern that the city would say that's unacceptable. Status quo for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years is not acceptable. Is it an opportunity, for example, for a police building at $150, $200 a square foot versus $500 a square foot new construction? Don't know. Are those real numbers? Those are numbers just you have a council committee right now looking at those kinds of things, and you would probably be able to advise us better and later on in your deliberations. The cons are, of course, significant. The mall is off the tax roll. There's no stated public purpose for the mall at this time. A lot of ideas out there. How do you execute the current vision of the urban village that we just showed you with the booklet there? Real big one, especially in light of this morning's discussion. How the heck do you pay for the thing? If we get into that game, how do we pay for it? And then a final one, which really the council would be the best advisors to us on, is what would the public's reaction be to that? Okay? Next. I want to share with you some expert comments, and I'm not going to name names, but these folks are experts. Just share these comments with you. Obviously, after Gottschalk's closes, there is no positive cash flow at the mall. That's important to know, because that will affect how General Growth looks at this property. Secondly, General Growth's ability to enter into an agreement is subject to an approval process. Again, going through the courts. It's convoluted, it's messy, we're not sure how that would work. You know, who do we sit down and do a deal with? If there was a deal to be done. General Growth wants the city to put more money into the mall and to extend General Growth's options. General Growth does not offer the city anything in return at this time. Our experts suggest the city should not put more money into the mall, and we should not extend any rights. General Growth may decide to close down the mall, and that's not trying to indicate a scare tactic, certainly on my part. We heard that in the conversation in April, conference call. So we have to put that on our radar screen as a possibility and then try to understand what would that mean and how would we handle it. Interesting insight here. Redlands Mall is a misnomer. It's too small. It's only 175,000 square feet, and by way of contrast, just one building, the proposed Walmart, will be 212,000 square feet. So it's really not a mall in the traditional sense of the very large enterprise. One expert says you don't need the mall for the urban village. Remember we talked about council current policy being the village at Redlands Mall? It's in the booklet. You've spent years on that. You've had charrettes. You've had experts in. And everyone's very excited about what they see in that booklet. One school of thought says, you know what, the urban village is already there. It's the Victorian neighborhood, Victorian houses in the nearby neighborhoods. It's the Bowl. It's State Street. It's the Krikorian theaters, it's the restaurant, it's the library, it's all of those things. And that last comment isn't to disrespect the vision at all. In fact, it's a reaffirmation. It says don't put all your eggs in the basket of the Redlands Mall to make that village concept happen if that's where you're at. Another just piece here, the price of the Redlands Mall we think should reflect this thing, whether these factors should reflect these factors, whether they hang on to it or sell it to a private party or do some kind of a variation on that theme with the private party in the city. We think its worth has greatly decreased because of the Gottschalk's closure. It's just not profitable. If you go over there now, you'll see there's a whole rash of vacancies. We're on record with General Growth as of January, back in January, reminding them that we know they've been approached by private parties and telling them to advise private parties who come to them that the city owns mall parking, the city owns the air rights, the city has the right to approve ownership transfer. So, GGP, we're saying anybody that comes to you for the mall, they need to know about these things. You need to be clear. The translation of that is you need to work with the city of Redlands. If there's a new owner, you need to work with the city of Redlands. In closing, I'd like to offer John Yonai some time to share his views with you, and then we look for council opportunity to comment, and then we would ask, do you wish to schedule any future action at this time, or would it be just receive and file the report? Thank you. John?